Hello there, lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet TV main news today, the 4th of March in the year 2025. Let's now take a look at the headlines. NGOCC calls for surgical castration for defilement perpetrators. Withdraw proposed amendment of Article 153(2), advises SACCORD. Government commits to working with local engineers. In international news this evening, UN reports sharp increase in aid record deaths, calls for 2024 the deadliest year on record. And in sports, SHEPOLOPOL head coach NORA makes adjustments following withdrawal of 4 players. Join us after this break for more exciting news items.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
To present the main news today, 3rd of April in the year 2025, I'm Tapelo Joe Smarter with the news in detail. The non-governmental organization Coordinating Council has petitioned government to amend parts of the law and introduce stiffer punishments for perpetrators of defilement. Speaking at the national-wide Stop Gender-Based Violence protest in Lusaka, NGOCC board chairperson Beauty Katewe says government should implement the Gender-Based Violence Act and introduce stiffer punishments for defilement and rape perpetrators. The petitioners have demanded for, among others, for the law to be amended for people accused of defilement and rape not to be granted police bond or bail. Receiving the petition, Vice President Mutale W.K. Nalumango said she took note of every petition on the need to amend the law and include stiffer punishments for perpetrators of defilement, but called for collaborative efforts to end the vice. Cherise Wote filed in this report.
Over the last few months, Zambia has had a rampant increase of child defilement, rape and sodomy cases, with alleged offenders being relatives to the victims. The continued increase has angered various stakeholders, prompting the non-governmental organization Coordinating Council, NGOCC, and other CSOs to protest over the lack of stiffer punishments for gender-based violence. Clad in black and orange, CSOs, politicians, musicians, and young people took to the streets of Lusaka to emphasize the need for better policies, stiffer punishments for offenders. The petitioners, through NGOCC board chairperson Beauty Katewe, demand for the amendment of the law and suggested castration for perpetrators of defilement, rape and sodomy.
Convicts of gender-based violence, specifically defilement and rape, should be subjected to surgical castration as a proportionate response to their cruelty. Number 16, the development of a policy to safeguard women and children from sexual exploitation and abuse by service providers, both in public and private spheres.
Concerns everyone, and citizens must take a stand against the vice.
These witches you call doctors must also stop that. You have spoken of the law. We can only arrest them under the law. but I'm speaking to them now. You have asked for amendment of the several different parts of the law, and I hear you. But there are things that we have allowed in our society that is just not helping. How do you get rich? By defiling your daughter. How do you get rich? How do you call your own little daughter your second wife? How do you birth a child who has cancer, is in pain, and you defile?
Meanwhile, the church and musicians re-echoed the need to protect the girl and boy child, emphasizing no bail or bond for offenders.
Church is part of the solution, but the church is also part of the problem, because there have been instances of pastors that I would call poachers. So we are also going to stand very strongly and say no to poachers on the pulpit, poachers in those confessional boxes. So viva to a girl child, viva to boy child.
For one thing, we are here to make our demands, and in solidarity with the rest of the Zambian people who are calling for stiffer laws and stiffer punishments for perpetrators of child defilement and gender-based violence. That's what we are calling for. And we are urging our lawmakers right now to say, let's move a motion in Parliament through our Vice President, who is also a parliamentarian. We believe this can be achieved. No bail, no
bail, no bond. And also through the Vice President to the President, when pardoning prisoners on the 25th of May, we don't want to see defilers on that list.
One is left to wonder to what extent sexual offenders are willing to go to without the existence of stiffer punishment. Cherish Sibote. For Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Southern African Center for Constructive Resolution of Disputes, SACCORD, has called on government to withdraw the proposed amendment of Article 153(2), which seeks to reintegrate members of Parliament, MPs, into local councils for development coordination. Speaking in an interview with Camnet News, SACCORD Acting Executive Director Arthur Muyunda described the proposal as regressive, warning that it could undermine democracy and weaken the independence of local governance structures. Mr. Muyunda further advocated for the introduction of term limits on MPs, arguing that some lawmakers have remained in office for extended periods without delivering tangible development in their constituencies. He also emphasized that the need to maintain existing term limits for mayors, stating that allowing leadership renewal would bring in fresh ideas and better service delivery. SACCORD has further challenged the government to provide clear justifications for amending Article 68(2)(b), which seeks to increase the number of nominated MPs beyond the current limit of 8.
Proposed articles for which are the government have proposed that they should be looked at or reviewed. As SACCORD, we have also, like many other stakeholders, gone through them, but we have decided to go in to look at them as individual recommendations as opposed, or articles, as opposed to looking at them holistically. We actually support most of the proposals. However, we have a feeling that there are some of them which needs to be to either be refined or be dropped at all. And those that we feel they are necessarily not supposed to be there are two specifically. And these the one which talks about having the term of office for mayors to remove the limit for the term of office for mayors. For us, we think it is against the spirit of democracy, because we think that for mayors and any elective position, there is need for continuous competition and continuous change of leaders, so that many other people can aspire for that position and maybe be there to bring new ideas. Because if we leave mayors to be in perpetual, just like it is for MPs, actually what we call upon is also to limit the term of office for members of parliament, as opposed to removing for the mayors. The reason is that the MPs, we have seen a number of MPs who have been in power for over 15, 20 years, but what change have they brought?
We now go to Eastern Province, where the Chipata Subordinate Court has convicted and sentenced Mavis Chongwe, a former Eastern Province Provincial Administration Office orderly, to 12 months simple imprisonment on one count of corrupt practices, contrary to Section 19(1) and 41 of the Anti-Corruption Act number 3 of 2012. Anti-Corruption Commission Head of Corporate Communications, Timothy Mono, says Ms. Chongwe proposed to help Chunga secure a job in exchange for 5,000 kwacha and received an initial payment of 900 kwacha. However, she failed to deliver on her promise, leading to her arrest and subsequent conviction, to which she pleaded guilty to the charge and was sentenced to 12 months imprisonment effective March 24, 2025. The Commission has further issued a stern warning to all public officials, emphasizing that anyone who fails to discharge their duties professionally and engages in corrupt practices will be arrested and prosecuted. Back to Lusaka, the capital city, where Minister of Education Douglas Yakalima has handed over a constituency development fund CDF 1/6 double classroom block at Washuka Secondary School in Kanyama constituency. Speaking at the ceremony, Minister of Education Douglas Yakalima, represented by Provincial Education Officer PO Terry Changwe, commended the government for granting the country the privilege of witnessing holistic development in all sectors through the Constituency Development Fund, CDF. He says the ministry is committed to ensuring that development reaches all parts of the nation without any tribal, religious, or ethnic biases, emphasizing that development is being distributed equally across the country. Meanwhile, Kanyama Constituency Member of Parliament Monty Chinkuli, represented by Garden Park Councillor Gerard Samboko, acknowledged the critical role that community development plays in transforming lives. He notes that the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, has been instrumental in driving progress in the constituency, from road rehabilitation works to the construction of shelters. Our reporter Barbara Mlenga filed in this report.
A 1/6 classroom block at Washoka Secondary School, funded by the Constituency Development Fund, has been completed and commissioned. Speaking at the event, Minister of Education Douglas Yakalima, who was represented by Provincial Education Officer Terry Changwe, says government is committed to ensuring that development reaches all parts of the country. Mr. Changwe says the ministry is thrilled that the education sector is getting a share from CDF towards school infrastructure. And Member of Parliament for Kanyama constituency, Monty Chikuli, represented by Garden Park Councillor Gerard Samboko, acknowledged the critical role community development plays in transforming lives.
The Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for according Zambians the privilege to witness holistic development. As we speak, new classroom blocks are being constructed and desks are being delivered to all constituencies across the country. Government is indeed rebooting the country to its past glory. As we celebrate this achievement, we acknowledge the critical role that community development plays in transforming lives. The Constituency Development Fund, CDF, has been instrumental in driving progress in our constituents, from road rehabilitation works to the construction of shelters. This project is a shining example of what can be achieved when we work together. towards a common goal. We look forward to continuing our partnership with the government and other stakeholders.
Meanwhile, Kanyama Ward 13 Councillor Lena Jello says the commissioning of the Twashuka Secondary School marks an important step and a significant milestone in efforts to improve the quality of free education in Kanyama. On behalf of the pupils, Kunda Talent said Lena's pledge to safeguard and protect the donation against any form of property destruction.
And gratitude, let us celebrate this milestone together. I'm honored to stand before you to witness the commissioning of Twashuka. Today marks an important step and a significant milestone in our efforts to improve quality and free education in Kanyama.
As learners of this good school, we pledge to safeguard and protect this donation against any form of destruction. We will stay vigilant and secure our school property for the learners that will come after us. Furthermore, we extend our...
Barbara Mlenga, reporting for Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Drug Enforcement Commission DEC has arrested suspects involved in drug trafficking and counterfeit currency circulation activities across Zambia. DEC Public Relations Officer Alan Tamba says in one operation, Douglas Nakonje, a 40-year-old male from Livingston District in Southern Province, was apprehended for trafficking 9 boxes of benylin with codeine. He says in another operation in Lusaka, Chikwanda Msonda, a 42-year-old female, was arrested for trafficking 1,915 boxes of benylin with codeine and unlawfully importing 2,400 bottles of benylin. The DEC also seized several vehicles, including a silver Isuzu, a BMW, a light truck, and a Toyota Alphard, as well as cash amounting to 13,500 rands and 3,650 kwacha. Mr. Tamba adds that 2 Malawians were also nabbed in Chipata for circulating fake old Zambian kwacha, highlighting DEC's efforts to combat financial crimes. The Men's Network for Gender and Development has called on society to break cultural stereotype of viewing men as all-round strong beings, stating that the belief greatly affects the ability for men to be vulnerable. Men's Network National Coordinator Nelson Banda says men bear several responsibilities that subject them to a pressure and fear of opening up due to existing social norms. Mr. Banda emphasizes the need to break cultural belief for both men and women and has urged men to spend time with their families to build connections and commune with relatives, stating that it creates a safe space to support one another.
The culture aspects, okay, the socialization processes where men are caused or brought up to believe that they should be strong all the time, even when they're faced with a big problem. That is what we need to break down, because that is a problem for men when they grow up. Okay, when one is growing up, for instance, when I was growing up, my father would say, "You are a boy, you should not cry." Okay, when you fall down, you should not cry. But that later on begins to affect you when you become a man, when you grow up, when you start your own, life later. An example is when you have a situation in the home with your wife. Okay, sometimes you are subjected to such pressure that you just need to find a way of coming out of those pressures. But it's not possible because of the way you are socialized when you are young. Okay, and then that also build up into something else, because when you keep something to yourself for a long time, you become an abuser. Okay, it doesn't only affect you as an individual, but it affects your partner, because if you keep it so much to yourself, you find that you become a potential abuser, because you want an outlet of who there is in yourself.
Government has reaffirmed its commitment to working closely with engineering professionals to develop sustainable infrastructure to address challenges posed by climate change. Speaking at the 68th Annual General Meeting and Symposium of the Engineering Institute of Zambia, EIZ, in Livingstone, Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, Charles Milupi, MP, emphasized the vital role engineers play in shaping Zambia's future through sustainable and innovative solutions. Minister Milupi says Zambia is already experiencing effects of climate change such as flooding, prolonged dry spells, and unpredictable weather patterns, which continue to put a strain on infrastructure, agriculture, and energy supply. The minister commended EIZ for its involvement in the appointment of an independent consultant for the Lusaka-Ndola Road project, saying this reflects the importance of collaboration between government and engineers in delivering quality infrastructure. The Department of Immigration has removed 217 illegal immigrants from Zambia following a mass operation conducted on April 2nd, 2025 in Lusaka. The removed individuals include 140 Burundians, 37 Rwandese, 37 Tanzanians, 1 Kenyan, 1 Sudanese, and 1 Ugandan. Department of Immigration Public Relations Officer Namati Shinka says a significant number of those deported were previously detained in a clean-up operation on March 26, 2025, where immigration authorities arrested 104 people across Lusaka for violating Zambia's immigration laws. In a separate operation at Kasumbalesa border, 19 suspected illegal immigrants were apprehended in the early hours of April 2nd, 2025. The group consisted of 17 Congolese nationals and 2 Tanzanians, all of whom failed to provide legal immigration documents. The suspects, who were reportedly entering Zambia illegally to purchase goods at the Kasumbalesa market, are currently in detention pending prosecution. Mr. Shinka adds that on April 1st and April 2nd, the Department of Immigration also secured 35 convictions and denied entry to 3 individuals for failing to meet entry requirements. The Ministry of Health has launched the Solar for Health Initiative project, which aims to bring solar power to 427 health facilities across the country. Speaking during the launch, Acting Minister of Health Douglas Yakalima says the Solar for Health initiative is part of Zambia's efforts to prioritize sustainable energy as a cornerstone of its Vision 2030 and Sustainable Development Goal number 7. He stresses that reliable power is essential for uninterrupted medical services, vaccine storage, and life-saving treatments. He adds that government recognizes the immense demand for alternative energy across all sectors, with 3,447 healthcare facilities identified as needing reliable power. The minister stresses that the project, spearheaded by the Ministry of Health with support from the Global Fund, will receive an initial investment of $6.8 million United States dollars. Here's a report.
Government has launched the Solar for Health initiative, a critical project that aims to bring solar power to 427 health facilities across the country. The initiative is also a response to the devastating drought that was declared a national disaster in February 2024 by President Hakainde Hichilema. The project, spearheaded by the Ministry of Health with support from the Global Fund, will receive an initial investment of $6.8 million US dollars. Speaking during the launch, Acting Minister of Health Douglas Yakalima says the Solar for Health initiative is part of the Zambia's efforts to prioritize sustainable energy as a cornerstone of its Vision 2030 and Sustainable Development Goal number 7.
First phase of this critical project, spearheaded by the Ministry of Health with the generous support of the Global Fund. An initial investment is $6.8 million, which will bring solar power to 427 health facilities, focusing on health centers and health posts. And those are the backbone of healthcare access for millions of Zambians. Under the visionary leadership of our President, the new Dawn government has prioritized sustainable energy as the cornerstone of Vision 2030 and Sustainable Development Goal number 7, which is about affordable and clean energy. Mr.
Siakalima adds that government recognizes the immense demand for alternative energy across all sectors, with 3,547 healthcare facilities identified as needing reliable power.
Government recognizes the immense demand for alternative energy across all sectors. Within healthcare alone, 3,547 facilities have been identified as needing reliable power. While we commend the ongoing efforts for RIA and ZESCO, we must strengthen collaboration to maximize efficiency and avoid duplication and ensure lasting impact. I was just being told that already 200 facilities by UNICEF and funded by GOVT are already in the process of doing this. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Meanwhile, United Nations Development Programme UNDP resident representative James Wakiyaga stressed that the launch has come at the right time when the UN is working to support the government in formulating strategic short, medium and long-term measures toward addressing energy crisis following the devastating droughts.
Honorable Minister, Permanent Secretaries, the launch of this project has come at the right time when the UN is working to support the government in formulating strategic short, medium and long-term measures towards addressing energy crisis that has largely impacted the country, particularly following the devastating drought. The energy crisis, of course, created a severe energy crisis exacerbated by the prolonged drought conditions, which have significantly reduced the country's hydroelectric power generation capacity.
Additionally to the Solar for Health initiative, Zambia has also launched the joint SDG Energy Transition Project. The 250,000 project, supported by the United Nations, aims to accelerate the deployment of renewable energy technologies and ensure that enterprises can link developers and users with quality products and services. Miriam Kansenga for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Our roving reporter there, Miriam Kansenga, with that particular report. Now, moving on in the news, the Youth Movement for HIV, TB and SRH Hour Advocacy has commended the Ministry of Health for its efforts in modernizing infrastructure to ensure people with tuberculosis have access to early diagnosis and treatment. Youth Movement for HIV, TB, SRH Hour Advocacy Program Manager Samuel Nyoni says the ministry's commitment to providing modernized infrastructure for TB treatment is a positive stride towards achieving the agenda to end TB by 2030. He says TB remains a serious concern affecting about 10 million people and being a leading cause of death globally. Mr. Nyoni emphasizes the need for a multi-stakeholder approach to combat TB to ensure that Zambia meets its commitment to responding to the disease. He adds that with more diagnosis and treatment, Zambia will reduce 20 TB-related deaths and that we have per week and improve overall health.
As a country, I think we would recommend the Ministry of Health with some of the positive strides that they've done in terms of ensuring that there is a modernized infrastructure to ensure that people living with TB, they are able to have easy access and they are able to have early diagnosis of TB. But also looking at some of the commitments that Zambia has also committed with the World Health Organization. to ensure that they respond to issues of TB. Already at the global level, we are told that about 59,000 annually cases of TB are recorded globally. But also when we look at Zambia, with the statement of the minister stated that around 20,000 are recorded cases of TB. But also it's another question that we are asking ourselves as a civil society movement organization, a youth-led organization that is focused to champion issues of TB around young people. I think this is some of the tremendous way that we are really trying to look around and see how best we can be able to work around. But looking at the face of Zambia where we are sitting now in terms of responding to TB, I think what we really need as a country is we need a multifaceted approach to ensure that we have different stakeholders buying interest and come together to collaborate and to be able to fight the agenda of TB, ensuring that by 2030 we are able to meet the targets that we are committed through the World Health Organization. Looking at some of the strengths that partners in the government that are bringing on board, and already we have seen some alarming situation. One of them is the funding cut that has really sort of deprived some of the services that people living with TB, people that have been affected with TB, could easily access those services.
We'll now take our first set of commercials, but do join us for more news when we come back. Stay tuned. Join us this Friday on The Ministry. Host Bishop Billy Lubansa from Flaming Fire Ministries, Kabwe. Guest Apostle Derek Mutungu. Topic: Who bewitched Africa and how can it really be free? Time 20:45 hours. Only on Camnet TV.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Enjoy the benefits of an instant loan with us ranging from 1,000 kwacha to 750,000 kwacha paid express once collateral is viewed, valued and verified. Call us on 0763 595 359 or 0779 432 993. Classified Financial Express, here as your financial friend.
Potatoes, the unsung heroes of flavor. From crispy chips to creamy mash, potatoes are the versatile superstars of your kitchen. Grown with love by our dedicated workforce drawn from around the community of Palavana. Savenda Farm's commitment is to see to it that we have potatoes that are grown right, healthy, big and tasty. For that quick fix or big celebration or that meal that brings family together, top chefs rely on the Savenda potato to create culinary masterpieces. And for others, it's that icebreaker to a delightful conversation. So, embrace the magic of Savenda potatoes. They're not just a side dish, they're the heart and soul of your kitchen. Savenda, save nations, develop Africa.
Are you looking for a reliable and efficient courier company with international standards? Then let UBZ Courier, your trusted partner in swift and secure deliveries, be your ultimate choice. Whether it's a small package or a hefty consignment, UBZ Courier handles it all, locally and internationally. Our modern call center ensures personalized attention for every client. For seamless deliveries within Zambia and beyond, trust UBZ Courier. Call us now on +260 763 062 680 or visit us at plot number 15 Mwapona Road, Woodland, Lusaka, Zambia. UBZ Courier, a world-class brand that can be trusted.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Renglow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back and thank you so much for still joining us on the Camnet News Desk. And now in international news. The United Nations has reported 137% increase in aid worker deaths in 2023, with 2024 surpassing all previous records as the deadliest year for humanitarian personnel. According to UN data, 377 aid workers were killed across 20 countries in 2024, marking nearly 100 more fatalities than in 2023, which had already seen a sharp rise in attacks on humanitarian staff. The surge in violence comes amid Israel's expanded ground operations in Gaza, where humanitarian access has been severely restricted, leaving the enclave without aid for a month. Here's a roundup of international news.
Senegal's parliament on Wednesday approved changes to the country's amnesty law, potentially paving the way for the investigation and prosecution of security personnel and members of the former government suspected of abuses. 126 lawmakers, mostly members of the ruling PASTEF party, voted yes for the changes. 20 legislators voted against the text after nearly 11 hours of debate. The changes remove exceptions for torture, assassination and murder. The amnesty law was adopted last March during the final days of President Macky Sall's administration. It is thanks to it that current President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and his Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko were released from prison to campaign in the election that Faye overwhelmingly won. 65 people were killed during Senegal's political unrest, 51 by gunfire.
It's a harrowing discovery. Emergency teams dig up a mass grave holding the bodies of 15 aid workers in Gaza. The United Nations says they were killed just days earlier by Israel while working in the enclave. Authorities are now sounding the alarm.
Humanitarian workers are being killed in unprecedented numbers. According to available data, 2024 was the worst year on record, with 377 aid workers killed across 20 countries. This was almost 100 more fatalities than in 2023.
The UN's humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, has also expressed concern, calling for the killings to end. Among the bodies recovered from the grave in southern Rafah were members of the Palestine Red Crescent Society. Some belonged to the civil defense, while another was working for the UN.
These attacks are designed to prevent the UN from helping the most vulnerable and to prevent them from bearing witness. Impunity for attacks on humanitarian personnel has become the new normal, a pervasive normal, an accepted normal, one perpetuated not only by non-state actors, but also by governments and their proxies.
The attacks come as Israel expands its fresh ground assault on Gaza. Its complete blockade of humanitarian aid is also nearing the 1-month mark.
World leaders strongly reacted to Donald Trump's sweeping new tariffs signed on Wednesday. The American president has imposed a baseline 10% tariff on all imports to the United States. Trump's move brings the US closer to a global trade war, including with some of its biggest partners like the European Union.
I'm ready to support any efforts to make the global trading system fit for the realities of the global economy. But I also want to be clear. Reaching for tariffs as your first and last tool will not fix it. This is why from the outset we have always been ready to negotiate with the United States to remove the remaining barriers to transatlantic trade. At the same time, we are prepared to respond. We are already finalizing the first package of countermeasures in response to tariffs on steel. And we're now preparing for further countermeasures to protect our interests and our businesses if negotiations fail.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney vowed to counter Trump's tariffs and to protect Canadian workers. Canada is exempted from the new tariffs on US imports, but the country had been targeted by previous measures. In Brazil, in a rare display of unity, Congress unanimously passed a bill allowing the government to retaliate against any country imposing tariffs on Brazilian goods.
Nas relações comerciais com o mundo.
The bill protects Brazil in the commercial relations with the world. It is important to say that when any country wants to interfere or change the commercial and diplomatic relations with Brazil, this bill allows that the Brazilian government act and do what is needed.
O governo brasileiro possa agir e estabelecer.
The baseline tariffs will also affect 51 African nations, many of which are also targeted by additional charges. Following Trump's announcements, global stock markets fell when trade began on Thursday.
And finally, in sports news this evening, the Zambia women's national team head coach, NORA has made key adjustments to her squad following the withdrawal of 4 senior players ahead of the 2025 Yongchuan International Tournament in China. With Captain Barbara Banda, Rachel Kundananji, Priska Chilufya, and Grace Chanda ruled out due to new US travel measures, Hapo has called up striker Penelope Mulibwa, who has been in exceptional form with 30 goals in the Eden University Women's Super League. Also joining the squad are China-based forward Ochumba Lubanji, Zes Gondola Girls midfielder Avo Chitundu, and Green Buffaloes midfielder Mawete Chilenga. Despite the setbacks, Hapo remains optimistic, viewing the situation as an opportunity to introduce and assess new talent. She has emphasized the team's commitment to developing young players, pointing out that several squad members are still eligible for under-17 competitions.
We arrived well here, already are on the third training session. Perfect organized tournament. We are looking forward to play Thailand and the winner of the game, China and Uzbekistan. Yeah, so we had a few challenges with traveling of players. Finally, the US player are not able to travel due to the visa ban in the USA. So this is disappointing, of course, for us, also for the crowd here in China who is expecting them. But always we take it and turn it to positive. So all the obstacles, hurdles, we called up 4 new players. We expect now Penelope, Ojumba, Avel and Maveta in, so they will arrive tomorrow afternoon, that we are with a complete squad of 24 players here. Basically, again, we bring a lot of young players. We have a few who are still eligible also for the under-17 to play. We give them our full confidence, because I'm convinced that they can take the chance, get exposure, playing time. It's important that we frame the squad towards the WAFCON, and we're looking forward, of course, also to the next camp end of May, to get another 2 games in before we start the preparation for the African. Yeah, for us it's always, we give the young players trust, confidence. I believe they need to have the exposure to present them. They also need to do errors. For us, it's they learn out of errors. It's not to avoid to making mistakes. It's just to be brave on the pitch, to try and to give their all in. So basically we have some either under 17 players in. I'm very curious, and I'm fully convinced that they will do a great job, will give us a lot of joy in the future. We're also looking forward to an under 17 World Cup, maybe next year also under 20. So we are fully convinced in our way, and we'll always work with the youngs.
We can only wish the SHEPOLOPOL the best of luck in that particular sports item. Brings us to the end of this edition of news on Camnet TV that made headlines. NGOCC calls for surgical castration for defilement perpetrators. Withdraw proposed amendment of Article 153(2), advises SACCORD. Government commits to working with local engineers. And in international news, UN reports sharp increase in aid worker deaths, calls 2024 the deadliest year on record. And in sports, SHEPOLOPOL head coach NORA makes adjustments following withdrawal of 4 players. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, coming from the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 31. It reads, "Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God." That ends the reading, and that ends the main news on Camnet TV. On behalf of the entire production team, dear viewer, do remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel. I'm Tapelo Joe Smarter. Good evening and God bless. Join us this Friday on the ministry. Host Bishop Billy Lubansa from Flaming Fire Ministries, Kabwe. Guest Apostle Derek Mutungu. Topic: Who reached Africa and how can it really be free